The Vatican is reporting that Popes Francis and Benedict have both taken the abortion-tainted COVID vaccine. Meanwhile, Archbishop Vigano has issued a scathing response to the Pope's suggestion that everyone must take the jab. And finally, it's not only Nancy Pelosi trying to incite a race war in America. Her cancerous falsehood is spreading, and we're going to debunk it right now. This is the John Henry Weston Show. Stay tuned. Let's begin as we always do with the sign of the cross. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. After Speaker Nancy Pelosi's racially charged rhetoric last week, other leftist politicians, intelligentsia, and media have piled on. Nancy Pelosi claimed that those at the Trump rally on January 6th had, and I quote, chosen their whiteness over democracy. Yes, actually, she seriously said that. Here, watch her saying it.
There are people in our country led by this president, for the moment, who have chosen their whiteness over democracy.
But it's not only her. Now, Congresswoman Cori Bush has called President Trump the white supremacist in chief. Have a look at this.
If we fail to remove a white supremacist president who incited a white supremacist insurrection, it's communities like Missouri's 1st District that suffer the most. The 117th Congress must understand that we have a mandate to legislate in defense of Black lives. The first step in that process is to root out white supremacy, starting with impeaching the white supremacist in chief.
And check out this Vox headline, which is so slanted it's hard to imagine. Whiteness, they say, is at the core of the insurrection. Unbelievable. In that Vox article, University of Pittsburgh history professor Keisha Blaine added to Pelosi's falsehood about whiteness. She said, I have a hard time believing anyone who says they are shocked by what took place in the Capitol on January 6th. She adds, and I quote, I have no idea what it will take for people to stop being shocked by how whiteness works in American society, end quote. And also, Professor Jeremy Suri from the University of Texas at Austin is quoted in the publication called Inside Higher Ed as saying, and I quote, today's terrorism is at the heart of the Republican Party, which now, in much of its leadership, has become a white supremacist Al-Qaeda, end quote. To suggest that Trump supporters and those concerned about the election fraud are white supremacists is a lie. Sure, there are likely some, a minuscule minority, who are racist. Just by the way, as there are some elected Democrats who, at least probably some, who believe abortion is a crime and must be punished by law. But you know what? They're a minuscule minority compared to the 80 million Trump supporters. Look, here is proof for you from our video producer, Jim Hale, who was on the ground at all 3 Trump rallies in D.C. on January 6th.
I want to support my president. I love everything he's done for me and my family, put money in our pocket, kept our country together, and made a lot of Black folks rich and well better off than 4 years or 5 years ago.
My message to President Trump is don't give up. Keep the fight going. Don't give up. Do not concede. Fight this to the death if you have to. We're here supporting you. That's why we held this rally. That's why we're holding rallies across the nation in every capital. So keep going, push forward, don't give up, because we're counting on you.
I'm making a statement that we love him and we're standing with him and we have his back.
I put my life on it. I believe it with all my heart. I want to keep America free. I don't want this to be a socialist nation, and I believe I want to have a place for my grandkids to be and live in a free place. I'm a business owner, and I want to be able to have rights and partake of everything that God made us, free, not to be in bondage.
Well, we just don't want the Communist Party to be in the White House. We can't take it.
We're here to support our president, also fighting for election integrity. We know that this election was stolen, and we're here to support our president.
We have to be American citizens in order to take the rights of the Constitution. We have everything we need to be a great America in our Constitution and the biblical laws. Our forefathers wanted the moral character of Jesus to be taught to all citizens, not to be taken out of courts, not to be taken out of schools, not to be taken out of homes. We need to stand on righteousness, and we need to do it now before we no longer have anywhere to go. Every other country comes here. Where can we go if America falls? We must stand and stand tall and stand united. It is the land indivisible, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The lies of the political and academic class are mirrored by lies from the mainstream media. As LifeSite's Vice President Gualberto Garcia-Jones put it in an outstanding must-read piece at LifeSite, and I quote, "In one breathless video after another, the leftist press has depicted the invasion of the Capitol as a day of unprecedented violence. But was it really unprecedented? Were these breathless reporters on a deserted island all of last summer? In Minneapolis alone, 1,500 buildings were burned down this summer. That's just one city. At the protests that laid siege to the White House during the manufactured outrage of Black Lives Matter, 60 Secret Service agents were seriously injured, and the historic D.C. church where the presidents have worshipped for decades was burned. What was the response by the media to the Black Lives Matter violence? Well, we have that. Let's take a look at it. Tom Elliott of Grabian News did a great compilation of the mainstream media excusing that violence. Have a look at this.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists, and they've taken a principled stand to stand against white supremacists and white nationalists wherever they may show up.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting. Listen, there's no organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I don't care that much about statues.
Shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do.
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Do not get it twisted and think that, oh, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
Most of the major movements in American history have started at the grassroots level and at some point have turned into direct conflict with American government. So remember your history before you judge your president.
Thuggishness is thuggishness wherever it comes from politically, and we should be the first to call it out.
I disagree.
As Gualberto Garcia-Jones, who was there for LifeSite on the ground in D.C. at the Trump rally, says about the violence at the Capitol, no conservative is denying that those responsible for the actual violence and destruction of property be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. No one's denying that. He says, what we are pointing out is the oppressive double standard in the American justice system, where almost no one gets prosecuted for injuring 60 Secret Service agents at the White House, or the burning of 1,500 buildings, or the looting and ransacking of one American city after another, or the weeks-long assault of police precincts, or the laying siege to federal courthouses. All of this debilitates the people's faith in a justice system and results in the loss of the rule of law, end quote. And in other news, the Vatican has confirmed that both Popes Francis and Benedict XVI have taken the COVID vaccine. Only days after Pope Francis appeared on Italian television saying that everyone must take the vaccine. I find this so sad for many reasons. In a nutshell, first off, This is a relatively untested vaccine. It's not been shown to protect others from getting COVID. We still apparently need masks and distancing. It's less effective even than the treatments for COVID, such as HCQ and ivermectin, which have been working for countless doctors treating their COVID patients. Moreover, the vaccines themselves have all sorts of negative effects. And finally, there are the abortion-tainted. They are abortion-tainted, these vaccines, in the most gruesome way. And thus, according to Cardinals Puyats, Bishop Schneider, and other prelates, they're morally impermissible to use. On a recent show, I went through all of this with vaccine researcher and expert Pamela Acker. You need to watch that full interview. It's been seen over 100,000 times on LifeSite's 2 channels. But here's a short snippet that I want to show you of just what I mean about the gruesomeness of this thing.
It's a lot more graphic even than what I've just described, because in a lot of cases, the babies, because it is done on purpose for research purposes, so they will actually deliver these babies via cesarean section. The babies are in some cases still alive when the researchers start extracting the tissue, to the point where their heart is still beating, and they're generally not given any anesthetic because that would disrupt the cells that the researchers are trying to extract. So they're removing this tissue while the baby's alive and in extreme amounts of pain. So this makes it even more sadistic. And my pastor just recently gave a sermon likening this to what the Aztecs used to do. You know, when they would consecrate their temples, they would literally rip out the beating hearts of the victims that they were slaying on top of the temples and then sort of cast their bodies down the side. I mean, this is pretty much exactly the same thing that these researchers are doing.
Yeah, and you had mentioned we're getting out the human embryonic kidney, HEK. So it's the kidney that they have to access. So they're cutting open these live babies just delivered by cesarean section. Yes, and they're too young perhaps to live outside the womb by themselves right away, but they're still alive enough, and we already know that they're feeling pain. And then they open them up to take, that has to be known. And now you can see why Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò responded this morning to Pope Francis's vaccine push with a scathing column you can read at LifeSite. Here's a bit of what he said. He said, and I quote, "It's disconcerting that after unscrupulously demolishing no small number of Catholic truths in the name of dialogue with heretics and idolaters, the one dogma which Bergoglio is not ready to renounce is that of obligatory vaccination." He continued by saying, if it is possible to set aside revealed truth in the name of ecumenism and interreligious dialogue, it is likewise not licit to question the dogmas of COVID, the revelation made by the media about the pandemic, and the salvific sacrament of the vaccine, end quote. Very strong stuff. Go read the full thing at lifesitenews.com. And I know it seems like there's a tsunami of bad and scary news happening all over the world just now. So I wanted to close off with a great clip from the new interview of LifeSite's Claire Chrétien with the indomitable pro-life warrior Austin Ruse, looking at the incoming Biden administration and what it will mean for the pro-life movement. Austin nonetheless said we should be happy warriors. Have a look at this.
We have to be happy warriors. He sent us here, you know. It's lame us. So be a happy warrior. Don't give up.
Did you catch that? God intended you for this time of history. God made you to accomplish his will at this time. Christ says his grace will be sufficient for you despite anything the world can throw at you. Please do watch that full interview. I love that Austin said, it's lame us. How true is that? We often feel like we are totally inadequate to accomplish God's work, yet he chooses the weak on purpose. It's his strength that we can count on. He will give you all you need to be a saint. Or as Austin says, the halos are hanging from the lowest branches. It's time to be a happy warrior. All you have to do is reach up for one of those halos and grab one. Viva Cristo Rey! For LifeSite News, this is John Henry Weston, and may God bless you. Hello, this is John Henry Weston. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the John Henry Weston Show YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. There you will find all the past episodes and much more. Thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.